Today I will model for you how to write paragraph 2 of your research paper. Today's topic for paragraph 2 is what types of damage does this disaster cause and how is your disaster measured by scientists? The first thing I'm going to do is look over my notes and determine what questions I'm going to answer at the top. So I know that I'm going to talk a little bit about how it is measured, as well as the loss and damage and destruction. Now I'm going to create my topic sentence. The effects of a tsunami depend on seismic energy, and I'm going to put in parentheses here so that we know what the seismic energy is. Earthquake energy, the damages and destruction depends on the size and strength of the waves. Now as I decide to write my details, I want to make sure that I'm putting my details in order. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I put them in order. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the seismic waves and how are they determined, and then the damage and destruction, now depending on the size and the strength of the waves. So now I want to put my details in order so that it makes sense. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the seismic energy. So I'm going to talk about these two details first. These is going to be detail 1 and 2 because it talks about the scientists and how they detect those seismic energy waves. And then I'm going to think sensibly, and if I'm going to talk about the damage on the size of the waves, I'm going to start with the smallest one first. So therefore, I'm going to talk about the small waves first. The next thing I'm going to talk about after the size of the small waves is I'm going to talk about the larger waves. And I'm going to start off here with this one, which will be my fourth thing I'm going to share. And these here will be my fifth and sixth, and this will be my final thought before I do my conclusion. As I begin my first set of details, I'm going to start with a transition word or phrase. In the first place, scientists established the Pacific, and I said that needs to be capital, so I'm going to go back and fix that. Pacific Tsunami Warning System. This is a network of detectors that track earthquakes that may cause tsunamis. Now notice I didn't use all of the information in my notes because sometimes we gather notes and we decide that some of it's just extra or we don't need it all. So I didn't use every single word or phrase in number 1 and 2, but I did use most of it. Now I'm going to lead into my next section, which I talked about with the damages and destruction. And I'm going to use a linking word here. And I'm going to link the second set of ideas of my topic sentence. I'm going to start by saying the size and strength of the waves determine the damage. Now I'm going to say, for example, a small tsunami comes to the shore as a strong moving tide. Now I'm going to look at the large waves, and since I'm using the opposite effect, I'm going to use an opposite transition word. So I'm going to say in contrast, which means the opposite, Some waves can be as high as 100 feet. Okay, so now I'm going to continue. High speeds from these waves can pick up airplanes, houses, and anything in its path. Now I want you to notice that I've used information from paragraphs from my details 5 and 6. I combined those thoughts and just made one sentence. Now I'm going to use a transition word here to link my next idea, which is, however, most of the damage comes from the fast moving water after the big wave has hit. Now I need to start working on my conclusion sentence. Remember, we want to link in the paragraph that we're going to be talking about next, which is how to be prepared. So in our conclusion sentence, we want to again say goodbye to the paragraph we're in, wrap it up and sum it up, which is the destruction, and then introduce and say hello to the next paragraph. So let me begin now. I'm going to start off with to summarize, scientists are trying to predict tsunamis to help minimize the damages, but it is still smart to have a plan and be prepared. Now, as I look over this, well, let me see, I have an error there, so let me fix that. There we go, and it's fixed. Okay, so as you can see, this first part talks about the paragraph that I was in, the predicting and the damages. The second part here talks about coming up with a plan and being prepared. Now, in conclusion, I want to explain to you everything that we just talked about so that you can remember when it's time to write your paragraph. First, you need to make sure that you're looking at all of the details on your left here. Make sure that you're including all of those in your topic sentence. Make sure you put your details in order in your mind first. Because we're going to do this first. Then we're going to write our topic sentence here, making sure that it's in order so that when we write our details, it flows. So if you see, for example, I talked about the seismic earthquake first, so that's the first thing I talk about. We want to make sure it flows. Whatever's said in your topic sentence should flow in your paragraph. The next thing I talk about is the damages, and that's these two paragraphs. I also use transition words throughout. I used here in the first place. I also, down here, I used for example. Down here I said in contrast, because it was the opposite. I used however, and then to summarize. At this time, you'll need to stop the video and take out your note catcher. Please fill in the details for paragraph 2 just as I did. Remember to write a clear topic sentence that includes all details. Make sure your details are in an order that makes sense. Use transitional words or phrases, and use a strong conclusion that links the paragraph you are writing about to the paragraph you will be writing next. Please note at the end of this video, I have put the transitional words again for you, the list of transitional words and phrases, so that you can refer back to that as you write your paragraph. When you have completed your paragraph, please take a picture of it and submit it to me so that I can check it and go over it with you.